But tell me, what's your idea about the future of the driverless car? When do we expect to see that become a reality?
I think there's a pretty big divide in the area of driverless cars or just autonomy, where on one end, a lot of today's cars have more semi-autonomous features than people realize, like lane, centering and forward collision avoidance and automatic braking and stuff like that.
And parking.
All that stuff.
Parallel parking.
Much more than I think a lot of people realize. But the other surprise is that the full-blown, no steering wheel, no pedals, you just get in and the car takes you, is, I think, much farther away than people recognize.
When you say much farther out, what are we?
I don't know if I want to put years on it. I would say...
Well, we hear 2024, 2023. Is that optimistic? A little too optimistic?
I think 2025, you might start to see vehicles that someone can purchase. But if we're talking about affordable versions of these cars, that's even farther away. I mean, this is really... People, I think, are getting a little bit confused between what is going to be an affordable mass market consumer product versus what automakers are doing right now to develop the vehicles. Like we just heard that General Motors applied to try and get some exemptions to put on the road a version of the Bolt EV, autonomous version of the Bolt EV with their Cruise acquisition, that has no pedals and no steering wheel. And that is just to allow it on the road. That doesn't mean that they're going to sell them next year. That just means they need the permission to put these test vehicles, these development vehicles out there. So look at all the obstacles. It's partly about acceptance from consumers, yes. We're going to have to work on that. And some of the products that are out there now, some of the little features like adaptive cruise control are making people aware, oh, this might be nice to have someday. But the other stuff is going to cost a lot of money. Those laser sensors, those LiDAR spinning laser sensors are expensive.
What do you think? Any estimates on guesstimates?
I mean, originally when you used to see the single one on top of a vehicle spinning turret thing, I mean that was 5 or 6 figures for that one. So now they're down to using several smaller ones. So the price is coming down. We might be talking about the thousands, but not the hundreds. So that has to come down in price. And then there's the computing power involved. All of these vehicles out there that can do this amazing stuff, they are crunching so much data. They have trunks full of computers. So there's a long way to go to get this stuff down to size and down to cost. There are the legal issues, the insurance issues, infrastructure, where there's a lot yet to do.
So people who are, let's say, coming to the auto show, they're looking for a car, they shouldn't worry and say, well, why should we buy a car in a few years? We're going to have to convert to a driverless car and we're going to lose a lot of money.
I think right now people can still comfortably buy a new car without worrying that it's going to be obsolete in 5 years. Because if there is a fully autonomous car available in 5 years, it's going to be quite expensive.
And how is the transition going to, how do you see that transition from people just getting rid of their cars? Will there be a possible conversion of regular cars to driverless, or will those become obsolete?
I think how obsolete a car becomes depends on how broadly accepted in the country autonomous vehicles are. Because currently there are no centralized federal guidelines for autonomous operation. There may be places where cars are very effective autonomously, like on the highway, which is why there's a lot of interest in, long-haul trucking right now, getting those autonomous. Then you take that off and you put it in the city where there's traffic and signals and all that stuff. That's a much more difficult nut to crack. So,
and do you see eventually? I mean, there's talk about nobody owning a car, because there'll be a point where people are saying, well, what's the use of having a car that sits there for 12 hours a day? Do you see a point? Is that sort of the goal, for no one to own a car and for cars just to be picking up people every?
I think the only goal that is driving autonomy as a movement is safety. And people are very concerned about making an autonomous car as safe as a human driver. The goal is actually to make it safer than a human driver, and it's not that difficult because human drivers aren't that great. So it is possible, but it's going to be a long, slow process, and I think it will really depend on where you live, how you live your life. The idea that everyone will just be sharing autonomous, ride hailing or sharing cars, I think is wrong.
Yeah.
If you look at it on spreadsheets or actuarial tables, I can see, well, yeah, cars just sit there all day. Why pay for it? Pay to insure it when you use it 2 hours a day.
Right.
This is America. Americans want their cars. They want their own version of everything. I really think we're very far away. We're going to see huge changes in society and the way we live before we're going to see a world, or at least a U.S., where people don't own their own cars and drive them when they want, how they want.
So people who are coming to the auto show shouldn't be too concerned that, maybe we should just lease, not buy, because in a few years we're going to be getting rid of that car. We're going to lose money on it.
I think it's safe to say that in 5 to 10 years, there may be fully autonomous cars available to replace whatever you're shopping for now, but it's not necessarily going to be the kind of car you want, the size of car you want, or certainly the price of car you want.